If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, thumbs up, comment if you have anything to say. That's what commenting is for. I hate this part of every YouTube video. What I hate more, though, is when people put it at the beginning. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Reading in the Dark. My name is Byron, and I read sometimes. It is June 4th as I'm filming this, and I'm doing my May wrap-up, so I'm a couple of days behind, so sorry. I just finished, like, a huge amount of work for video things. I just finished editing together a virtual choir for, like, an entire school district that had, like, almost 300 people in it, and it was a long, long process, and it's finally done. In addition to several other things all at the same time. So I'm feeling pretty awesome about myself, and I don't feel too bad about the fact that I'm wrapping up May on June 4th. I think it's okay, and I think that you probably will forgive me. So I want to talk about what I read in May. It's not as many books as I thought, but some good ones. May was a very good reading month because I read the second half of the second book in a trilogy, the third book in that trilogy, and 3 other books. So I actually read more books in May than I did in March or April. So that's good. So, also my hair is gone. In case you hadn't noticed, I have removed the hair from my head, and I feel good about it. It felt very much like, and this will be in the vlog too, but like, it felt very much like all of the like intensely like challenging and paradigm breaking and stressful things that happened during the pandemic was like in the hair in a way, and I feel like we're getting out of it. At least here in the US we are. I'm sorry to those of you who live in an area where it's harder to get the vaccine. I'm feeling optimistic about my industry as an entertainer here in Orlando, and I just feel like we're starting to ease out of the pandemic, and I just felt like it was time to move on. So I decided to shave off the hair, move on with my life, and that's too much talking about my hair. So I read like 5 books in May, and it was all really good. I didn't read anything that I hated. So the first book that I'll talk about, I guess, is Twist of Faith by Ellen J. Greene. I read that book in April, but it's the first book in a trilogy about a woman who was left on like the doorstep of a church when she was young. Just basically, it's a very long and twisty, convoluted story of her trying to dig into the past and find out if that's really true and what her past is and where she came from and what happened to her mother. And Philip, get out of the garbage. So when I started reading it because I bought the book years ago. I had no idea that it was a trilogy, and then I realized, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one after that. I thought maybe it was a series, and I think now it's just a trilogy. So I had read the first book, Twist of Faith, and then I read part of the second book, Absolution, between the last week of April and May 1st. I read a good deal of it on May 1st, though, so I'm including it here. And then I read the third book in that trilogy. So there's not a lot to say about that trilogy without giving things away. After the death of her adoptive mother, Ava Saunders comes upon a peculiar photograph sealed and hidden away in a crawl space. The photo shows a shuttered, ramshackle house on top of a steep hill. On the back, a puzzling inscription, "Destiny calls us." Ava is certain that it's a clue to her elusive past. 23 years ago, she'd been found wrapped in a yellow blanket in the narthex of the Holy Savior Catholic Church and rescued, or so she'd been told. She fears that investigating her past could be a fatal mistake, and what's been buried in Ava's nightmares isn't just a crime, it's a holy conspiracy. So that is definitely teasing primarily reveals in the first book, but her whole story continues to sort of be revealed throughout all 3 books. And I gave the first book 3 stars, but I was intrigued enough that I read the second book. I gave the second book 4 stars, and then I gave the third book 3 stars again. Suffice to say, it really gets going in the second book, and it's very much like I enjoyed this story more when it was still a twisty, knotted, intertwined, like, bird's nest of hints and clues and mysterious people. And then when it started to really kind of show itself and we found out the truth about everything, I was intrigued and I was turning pages and I wanted to know, but it wasn't as fun as it was when like every second page there'd be like another shocking discovery. I really enjoyed the second book best, but if I did half-star ratings, I guess you could average that out, and that would be like, what, that's 6? 10 divided by 3? Yeah, it'd be 3.3, like a 3.5 star rating for the series. I would give it like 4 stars. I have fond memories of it. Then I read new book just released on May 4th by Rivers Solomon, a book called Sorrowland with this gorgeous cover. So this book was beautiful. This book tells the story of Vern, 7 months pregnant and desperate to escape the strict religious compound where she was raised, flees for the shelter of the woods. There she gives birth to twins and plans to raise them far from the influence of the outside world. But even in the forest, Vern is a hunted woman. Forced to fight back against the community that refuses to let her go, she unleashes incredible brutality far beyond what a person should be capable of, her body racked by inexplicable and uncanny changes. In order to understand her metamorphosis and protect her small family, Vern has to face the past and, more troublingly, the future outside the woods, and I'll stop there. This book was beautifully written. I absolutely loved the character of Vern, and it was almost new weird, like in a Jeff Vandermeer way, in terms of, like, as you heard in that description, like dealing with unnatural changes in like humans and conspiracy, and like I really enjoy reading about people who are escaping from like cults or compounds or settlements or whatever you want to call them. It's definitely a turn pager. It was a turn pager, you guys. It was a page turner. I enjoyed the memories and the flashbacks to her time in that community. I definitely dug all of the like quasi sci-fi but like new weird elements. I loved the character and I loved her relationship to her children. I preferred the section of the book that took place like 100% in the woods, and then there are some portions of the book where she leaves the woods and is in more like normal spaces, and that was good too. But it wasn't hitting the sweet spot for my imagination that the parts that were set in the woods were. The ending felt right, but it didn't thrill me maybe as much as I'd like it to have done. That said, it was beautifully written and really, really fascinating, and it definitely inspired me to read more by Rivers Solomon. They are an amazing author. They have written several other books that I own, actually. I think I own The Deep by Rivers Solomon and An Unkindness of Ghosts. I think that's what it's called. So I definitely want to read more by them. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And I'm probably going to read one of the other books. I think I'm going to read The Deep soon. I kind of want to do a readathon because I happen to own more than one book that's called The Deep. So I'm probably going to read like multiple books that are called The Deep like at the same time just because it's stupid and it's something I want to do. And then the next book I read was by one of my favorite authors, Ottessa Moshfegh. So need I say more? It was a very interesting read. Death in Her Hands was released. It's her most recent novel, but it wasn't that recent. It was released in April 2020. And as I recall, because I pre-ordered the book, I think it was actually pushed back a couple months because I was super disappointed when that happened. But then I just didn't read it. So whatever. People are weird, and I'm a people. Death in Her Hands is very interesting. Death in Her Hands is described thusly. While on her normal daily walk with her dog in the nearby forest woods, our protagonist comes across a note, handwritten and carefully pinned to the ground with a frame of stones. Her name was Magda. Nobody will ever know who killed her. It wasn't me. Here is her dead body. Our narrator is deeply shaken. She has no idea what to make of this. She's new to the area, having moved here from her long-time home after the death of her husband, and she knows very few people. And she's a little shaky even on her best days. Her brooding about this note quickly grows into a full-blown obsession, and she begins to devote herself to exploring the possibilities of her conjectures about who this woman was and how she met her fate. So this is very much billed, I think, as a mystery, maybe even a mystery thriller, and it is definitely really both of those things, especially I would call it a mystery. But true to form, Ottessa Moshfegh manages to quite exquisitely, I think, subvert what you might expect from the genre of mystery. Yes, there are clues. Yes, there are reveals. There's a big, dun 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 at the end. It's very, very readable. Very, very, very much a mystery. but it is just not a mystery in the way you might expect. It was not a mystery in the way I expected, but there was a point. So it's a book that is challenging. I think this book is probably kind of polarizing, because if you go into this expecting a traditional mystery that you're going to read in a couple days and be like, yep, you're probably going to be disappointed or frustrated by this book. It's really a character study, which is a very Moshfeghian thing to do. It's what she seems to be really good at, is writing books that once before with Eileen, she wrote a book that was essentially sort of a thriller mystery, but it was very much character study, and that's what this book is as well. Which again is not to suggest that there is not a mystery here, because there absolutely is, and there is a brilliant, shocking conclusion and all of those things. But the book doesn't hold your hand, and the book doesn't follow mystery book formula at all. And probably about 20 pages in, I was thinking, what is happening? What? I was amused, and I trusted the author because I read everything else that Moshfegh has written except for her short story collection, which I need to, because it's literally right there. I knew that she knew what she was doing, and she's a great writer that I really, really admire, so I trusted her. But I think if you've never read her before, or if you don't know for sure if she's your style, there's a point early on in the book where a lot of people might say, well, I don't understand what in the hell is going on here, but I think I'm done. Luckily, I was not one of those people, and I finished the book, and it did what it did so well, and it really, to me, was pretty brilliant. I didn't exactly call the ending, or maybe I did, but I definitely feel like I figured out what the novel was doing, like halfway through. And so when things started to unravel and be revealed, I wasn't necessarily shocked. Maybe I just was reverse engineering Ottessa Moshfegh because I've read her other books. I don't know. But I super enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth a read. If you are adventurous and you're willing to go on an interesting journey within the framework, somewhat the guise of a mystery, big recommend for this book. You got to have a little patience with it. But I think if you really put some thought into what you're reading, it's a very, very rewarding reading experience. I give it 4 stars. One day I'll read a book by her that's 5. I just haven't quite gotten there yet. And then the last book I read was... Oh, and if you haven't read other books by Moshfegh, My Year of Rest and Relaxation is probably her best book. Eileen is fascinating and great, and I also enjoyed this book too. Oh, and McGlue, which I have on my shelf as well. I special ordered it, like it's like an import. McGlue is a novella about a sailor who wakes up really, really drunk and hungover in the brig of a sailing ship, being told that he's murdered his best friend and he doesn't remember it. And that is a fantastic novella. So anyway, Moshfegh. Okay, the last book that I read was another easy Murder, She Wrote book. This was the 3rd book in that series called Rum and Razors. I skipped the 2nd book in the series because it was Christmas themed, and I just figured I would save that for Christmas time. Because I think at Christmas time, A, busy, B, wanting to read Christmassy things, and comforting, cozy mysteries would be kind of perfect during the holidays. So I skipped the 2nd book. I'm going to save it for Christmas time. I think the 10th or 11th book I looked ahead also was Christmas themed, so I'll probably read that at Christmas time. Anyway, so I read the 3rd book called Rum and Razors. This tells the story of Jessica Fletcher, from the TV show Murder, She Wrote, played by our Lord and Savior, Angela Lansbury. These books are written by Donald Bain, the vast majority of them. This one was written by Donald Bain and Jessica Fletcher. And in this book, Jessica is taking a rare vacation to the island of St. Thomas. She has 2 friends from Cabot Cove, Maine, which is where she lives, who used to live in Cabot Cove but moved to St. Thomas with dreams of opening an inn, a seaside inn. And they've done it, and they keep saying, you have an open invitation to come here and stay here, on the house. You're an old friend, come stay here. And she does. And turns out that things at the inn, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, but the relationship between her 2 friends who are married is not as rosy as it once was. Seems like a lot of people at this resort are not too super fond of the guy. And things might not be going great for the hotel. There's like political, legal stuff going on. And then, of course, someone is murdered. So she has to figure out, you know, who did it and whatnot, and like try to have a vacation at the same time. It gives you like tropical vibes. It gives you cozy mystery. It gives you a twisty, you know, mystery and reveals and just plucky Jessica Fletcher poking her nose where it doesn't belong and like saving the day. I enjoyed it. I probably read it in a couple days. Actually, what does Goodreads say? I read it in like 4 days. So, and that's just because I've only really been reading at night at bedtime, like having my day, going to bed, and then like my boyfriend falls asleep, but he can sleep through anything. So like I can have a little dim light on above the bed and sit in bed and read until 5 or 6 in the morning. But I don't always stay up that late, and so I just like read for a couple chapters or something, and then I go to sleep. So that's been my reading lately. I've been reading like a normal person, just like reading at bedtime for a little while. I think the book was only like 300 pages long. So I read it leisurely, but it was an easy read and it was enjoyable. And I think I gave it 3 stars as well. And there's nothing wrong with a 3-star read in my book. I think of 3 stars as good. I liked it. 4 stars is wow, I loved it. 5 stars is like something special. 2 stars, didn't really like it. 1 star, trash. So I liked it. It just didn't do anything like spectacular, but like I wasn't looking for anything spectacular. I just wanted to have a good time, and it delivered on that. So what I'm currently reading, I know I said I wasn't going to give you TBRs, but I will tell you what I'm currently reading is The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, which is a very popular book that I've heard about a lot. It's been on my radar for a long time. I've owned it, had it on my Kindle for a long time, and I finally got around to reading it, and I don't really know why. Because I'm doing this thing where I don't really plan my month out. I just read whatever I want to read next. And at the moment, my thought is that the next book I will read will be The Naturalist by Andrew Mayne. And why? The only reason why is that while I was reading a page in the so far beautifully written Essex Serpent, she makes mention of some character who is a naturalist. And in my head I went, oh, The Naturalist. I own a book called The Naturalist. That's a mystery thriller. I'm in the mood for one of those again. I'll read that next. And that's just what we're doing lately. That is how I'm choosing books. I'm just saying, what do I have? What do I have? What looks good? I'll read that. Instead of making plans, because I feel like maybe it's helping me stay motivated to keep reading, because it's a choose your own adventure. I get to read whatever I want when I finish a book. It's exciting. But those are the books that I read in May. It's not a bad haul, because I mean, really, that's 4 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars. It's pretty good. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, thumbs up, comment if you have anything to say. That's what commenting is for. I hate this part of every YouTube video. What I hate more, though, is when people put it at the beginning. When you start watching a video and people are like, hey everybody, before we jump in, don't forget to smash that like button and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you haven't done anything yet. I don't even know if I like you. Anyway, if you're here, you probably like me reasonably well. So if you'd like to like the video, that helps me out. And if you have any thoughts or any suggestions or any thoughts about my non-TBR-ness, you know, I encourage you to try this, really. Try to not plan out your reading for like a month. Just say, I'm going to read whatever strikes my fancy. I think it's really liberating. Yeah, that was my May. My May was good. I got through a lot of work and I read some good books, and I'm happy to be able to be here and share that experience with you guys. So my vlog for May should go up in a couple of weeks, assuming I can get it all edited in time. I have a little less on my plate now, so that should happen. I'm still working on editing the vlog from California. One day it will be done, but there was just so much. So that's it for me for now. That was my May. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, etc., etc. And until next time, I will be here in the dark reading.